I'm 20 years old and I made over $279,000 in 2024. And in this video, I want to break down everything that I've actually learned that's got me to this point. And I don't want to make this as kind of like a bragging video. This is just including my stripes, which you see on the screen here, and also some wise payments as well too, but I take payments externally. And if you guys don't know what I do, I actually help coaching businesses scale. So I come in, build systems, help them scale, manage the systems, all that type of stuff. So what I want to do is I just want to break down a lot of the lessons I learned in 2024, because I think I made way more money than I did last year, but I think I also made way more mistakes that I probably could have avoided. And I want to make this to just be like a reminder to myself in the future, and also to other people who are starting out their entrepreneurial journeys, or like they're trying to scale it or whatever. And I'm going to go over, like, on my notes here, I have like 5 points. So if you see me looking down, I'm literally just like reading off it to just make this video smooth as possible for you guys. And I think the last point is actually probably one of the most important things that I had to learn, and it took me until later to this year to hear it. And I think that's where I made the majority of the money that I made as well. And obviously not all of it is pure profit for me to keep. Like, I have expenses, I have people I had to pay as well too. But towards the end of it, I've actually held pretty decent margins, to be honest. So I'm just gonna go over pretty much everything, all the lessons I've learned, and hopefully you guys can learn something in this video. So the first thing I would say that I've learned is you have to reframe everything you experience into something positive. What do I mean by this? You're gonna experience a bunch of stuff, and it's very easy to kind of play the blame game. It's very easy to be like, hey, everything is not going my way. It's this person's fault. This person did the script this right. This person didn't do this right. You have to almost kind of like relay everything back to you, and also reframe the way you see it. So not necessarily blaming yourself for every single thing, which is also not a bad thing as well. You have to reframe it to seem like it's positive. So for example, I'll tell you about a story that actually made me lose around $8,000, which was crazy during this calendar year. It was when I actually signed a client, and this client was looking for growth in terms of the business. I'm not going to say the name to protect them. And basically what they were trying to do is they were trying to scale their business. And I pitched them 8K as a setup, and also like a percentage, but they didn't want to do everything up front. So they actually did 2.5 up front. And then after that, they would pay the rest of it from the money that we make. I was pretty confident I was going to be able to make that person a lot of money, because they had a pretty good offer. And when we started posting the content, they was getting a lot of leads. But what happened is I didn't actually get the best seller. We actually had someone vetted. If you don't know how these businesses work, we have appointment setters that book calls. And when they book calls, they open the calls, they close it, whatever. I actually didn't vet the person I wanted to get, because I vetted someone, but they bailed last minute. And this person was really anxious. They were like, hey, I need to get this setter. Even though we're only a week in, I was like, damn, let me rush it. And I found someone that was really hungry. They seemed like they really wanted it, but they just had no experience. And I took a gamble. I was like, you know what? Let me test this out. Even though my gut feeling was telling me, don't do it, just take the bite. I was like, let me test this out. And obviously you guys can probably tell it didn't end too great. They didn't actually manage to book a lot of calls, and the person wasn't too happy. And even though it was only like a week and a half into it, I could kind of tell there's a little bit of resistance in terms of continuing. So that decision just kind of made it wrong. And even though I wanted to recorrect it and be like, hey, let me make sure that I can get you better, so that I have someone in mind, someone that I've actually worked with that's set over like $700K, $1 million. Let me get you this person. The person was like, no, I don't want to do it. What can we do to compensate for this? And I was like, damn, that sucks. But in the moment, if I kept saying that, yo, this is bad, I've lost so much money, I would have probably been in that position and probably made those mistakes even more. But I actually reframed it and was like, no, this is actually a good thing, because it actually cost me no money to learn this lesson. It just cost me my time. And the lesson was vet the people you pick, vet the people you bring to your team, make sure you actually bring the right people, and always trust your gut. And that actually costed me nothing to learn. So in reality, I actually made money from that experience, because when I started placing better sellers and I actually started trusting my gut, we made more money. And that's how you have to reframe this stuff, because you're going to encounter a bunch of quote unquote L's in your journey. And it's very easy to be like, oh, this happened. This is not great. I'm not doing well like this. This is not going to help me get to my goals. It's very easy to be in those positions. But if you can reframe it and actually make it seem like it's a positive thing, you're not going to be having those issues. And as a result, I've been able to make way more money from that experience and learn from it. And once I had it, I literally forgot about me even sending the money back like a week later. So trust me, it's really not as bad as you guys think, okay? So that's the first thing. So now the second thing that I have on my list over here is you guys really need to be upfront with your intentions, because the hard conversations, you never actually regret them. When you have them, you feel so relieved. I'm sure you guys probably have a bunch of hard conversations that maybe you need to have with people that work in your team, maybe even yourself, and you're just kind of like avoiding it. But every time I've done that, I've always had something worse that happened, because I wanted to remove myself from that problem, or I didn't want to face it. I had to make a bunch of like executive decisions, and let's say kind of like hard decisions in the moment. But old me would have been like, let me push this off, let me tell this in like a voice note, let me text this, or let me say something like this. No. Now I'm just a lot more like upfront with my intentions. Now I can go up to someone and be like, yo, if you're not doing a good job, I'll be like, yo, you're kind of shit in the bed. Or I'll be like, yo, this is how I'm feeling right now. I'm open to express how I'm actively feeling. And that's allowed me to save myself from a bunch of stuff that I didn't want to continue and stuff that I didn't want to keep happening. And old me would have probably just like kept going with it, kept going with the flow. Maybe it got worse and then damn, it's in a serious situation. But if I see something's not doing well, straight away I talk about it. Straight away I bring it up. And that's allowed me to have clearer intentions, have clearer expectations, and also have less troubles in the long run. So even though it feels like it's a hard conversation, you have to look at it from the perspective of, what would my life look like if I didn't have this hard conversation right now? What would my life look like if I didn't approach the person I've been trying to talk to for a long time? What would my life look like if I didn't tell this team member that hasn't been doing the work what they should be doing better and how we can improve it? What would my life look like? And you always have to remind yourself the repercussions of that. What would my life look like if, let's say, this team member is actually directly causing revenue for the business and they're slacking and they're not doing their job? What would my income look like if I don't talk to them about it? What would my income look like if I don't make a decision about how I want my business to move forward? You have to remind yourself about these things, because at the end of the day, it's all going to come back to you. You're the person that's going to deal with all the stress if you don't actually make the decision. So that's why I always reminded myself up, and I just told myself, yeah, I can't be in that situation. And it also ties back to another thing, which I'm going to talk about later down in this video, that allowed me to make majority of the money, which is literally how you see yourself. If you genuinely see yourself as someone that just can't make a certain amount of money, or can't make below a certain amount of money, you're not going to, you just are not going to tolerate those decisions. It's like, for example, if a rich person goes into, like, let's say a 1-star hotel, for example, they're just going to be like, I'm not going to be here. This is not me. It doesn't make sense. Why am I here? And they're actively going to want to get out of that situation. So it's like, you have to do the same thing for revenue marks as well too. If you're making like 10K a month or something like that, and you're just like, I'm not happy with this. Why am I making 10K a month? This is not me. This doesn't feel right. Why am I doing this? In your head, it kind of makes yourself feel like shit because you are making that amount of money. So you're telling yourself, wait a minute, I've got all these skills, I've got all these skill sets. Why am I making this amount of money? It doesn't make sense. I'm not comfortable with this. I need to move out. And that's when making hard conversations becomes easier, because at the end of the day, it's all for your benefit, okay? So that's the second thing that I spoke about. So now the third thing that I spoke about, which also ties in a little bit deeper to the thing I'm going to talk about a little bit later, is that there's a lot more work that actually comes to get to where you want to be. So, for example, if you go about and look at my YouTube hours, if you go into my Loom account, which is where I record a lot of videos, SOPs, modules, and if you go into my Google Docs folder, which is where I write a bunch of stuff, I actually looked at it before I recorded this video. There's probably over like 3,000 hours of just like me sitting down, working, and like recording stuff combined together, which I was like, this is insane. And I never actually realized this until I sat down and I was like, damn, there's actually way more work that goes into this than most people actually think. And most people think it's a walk in the park, start off, do a couple outages here and there, but there's way more work that goes into it. And it's also, it's going to tie into what I'm going to say a little bit later, because I was always looking at it from the perspective of more. But at a certain point, you actually can't look at it that way, and it actually becomes a demerit. And I'm going to explain to you what that actually is. But like I said, the more work you do, the better position you're going to be in yourself in the future. But I'm not necessarily saying spam work, but make a mental image in yourself that, hey, there's a lot of stuff that's going to come with this journey. There's a lot of setbacks. There's a lot of things that's going to happen. There's a lot of tests that you're going to have. And if you're not prepared for it, it's just not going to work out. And I've seen it many times. I've seen people that have tried to do mentorships, they pay for mentorships, and they just don't do the work. And they upfront and they say it, that like, hey, I can't do this. This is just way too much. Which at the end of the day, it's okay. But if you're really trying to like be like all these guys you see online, have the rich lives, have the stuff they have, yes, some of it, they have luck and they're also in the right places at the right time, but also realize that you can actually brute force that way, but actually doing the work you want to do, which is a way you can do it. But I'm going to explain something that I did completely differently that allowed me to make the majority of all the money that I made very quickly without actually doing the amount of work that most people are advertising you to do, okay? So fourth thing that I have as well too that I wrote down is, you always want to have constant reminders about why you're doing this in the first place. Because I've seen a lot of people have goals, and to be honest, goals is not enough. Saying that you want to make 10K, 20K, 30K a month is not really enough, because it's very easy to forget those goals. In this day and age, You can go on your phone, start scrolling TikTok. I started scrolling Instagram today. I see some weird memes that on my phones, and you just think to yourself, damn, you just completely forgot. You're in a completely different dimension, and you're like, damn, I can't work on this. I'm not saying like be a whole thing and just be a monk, don't scroll. I'm not saying that, but I'm just telling yourself, you have to always have constant reminders about the thing that you want to achieve every single day, at least multiple times every single day. That's why every morning, it sounds cringe to some people, but to me it's not, because it helped me get to where I want to be. I look at a vision board every single morning. I remind myself why I'm doing this. I look at the things that I repeat to myself. I look at the values I repeat to myself. I see every morning. My wallpaper is my goals, the materialistic stuff, the nice stuff I want, the things I want, the beliefs I have. I look at my log screen, it's the things that I want as well too. I look into my notes, it's reminders, constant reminders telling me, hey, this is what you're looking for, this is what you're working for. So it's very hard for me to ignore it. Because the most people, I heard Alex and Mosey said this as well too, when you're trying to lose weight, the easiest thing for you to do is just look at the scale every single day. Because if you look at the scale, it's hard for you to ignore that you're overweight or you're underweight or whatever. It's hard to ignore. So when you see that, you're going to actively try to do methods that's going to make sure that you can get to where you want to be. So if you're actively being reminded that you're not in the place that you want to be, you're not living in the house you want to be, your family's not in the place you want to be, you don't have the car you want, you don't have the apartment you want. If you actively remind yourself about that every single day, it's very hard to not do work. It's very hard to just not want to do the things you want to do. Like even right now, it's a long time. Probably don't want to be recording this video, but I want to record this video because I know what type of impact it can have on business, other people's lives, and also myself looking back into it. And I'm just doing it because I know this is what's going to help me get closer to my goals. And I'm doing it because I'm reminded about the goals and I'm reminded about the benefits of talking about stuff like this, okay? So that's another thing. Just remind yourself. Have reminders, have things in place. Make it very hard to ignore what you're looking for, and you're going to get to where you want to be a lot faster than you actually think, okay? That's the fourth thing. And then the final thing, which I think was a big game changer for me, is you don't want to look from the perspective of always taking action before you want to do something. Okay, so what do I mean by this? Let's say you have a goal. You have a goal to hit, let's say 50K a month, for example. Most people are going to sit down, draw the whiteboard, cool. This is how much reviews I need to get. This is how much calls I need to book. This is how much things I need to do. All that type of stuff. They're going to map out everything. They're going to create a clear action plan, which you should be doing as well too. Like, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying that this is what most people do, okay? But that is actually thinking on like the lowest level of action, because the highest level of action is just thinking about the goal itself and envisioning you getting there. Because the one thing that you want to rely on the most, it sounds weird, but it's your natural ability to just produce. Most people that rely on like strategies, systems, all these types of stuff, they use that to kind of mask themselves, not truly believing that they can actually get to where they want to be. What do I mean by this? Let's say, for example, I'm playing football, and let's say I'm teaching football to like a child, for example. Let's say I have two 10-year-olds, they're learning football for the first time. I'm telling the 10-year-old, yo, you need to focus on your touch, you need to focus on your scans, you need to make sure your pass is good, your weight to pass is good. I'm programming a bunch of stuff into their head that's creating a bunch of alliances. So now they're thinking to themselves constantly, they're not even thinking about the goal, they're thinking about a bunch of different things they need to be doing. So let's say, for example, translating this into business, I'm thinking about my video quality, I'm thinking about my outreach, I'm thinking about my video message, I'm thinking about all these things. And that actually progresses me less, because now I'm thinking about so much different stuff. It actually takes me away from the goal that I wanted to do. But if I just told someone, like a child, the second child, I'm like, hey, don't do all that stuff that guy's telling. Here's the ball. Use your feet. That's the goal. Find a way to score. You're going to attempt stuff more because all you're thinking about is the goal itself. So the person is just going to naturally start going better, naturally start dribbling, naturally make a mistake and be like, oh, if I did that, I'm probably not going to get to the goal. I should probably do something else. So when you think about the goal itself, a pathway just becomes clearer, and then you all actively just start doing the things that you want to do to help yourself get to that goal. It's very weird to describe. It's kind of arbitrary, but I started doing that, and then I started realizing this is actually a lot more simpler than I thought. Because when you bog yourself down to systems, strategies, all these types of stuff, you narrow your belief and you narrow your natural ability to think. Because, for example, I was thinking to myself, let's say I want to get clients for an agency. I was thinking, damn, I need to create this outreach strategy. I need to have all these people I need to reach out to, blah, 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 blah. But I was like, wait a minute. I have guys that I got good results for. Why don't I just ask them for referrals? And that just came from me thinking, I want to get clients. What's the best way to get clients? I was just sitting down. So wait a minute, I could just ask these guys for referrals. ask for referrals, you got a client straight away. And that avoided me going out there being like, I need to do this. Here's my plan. This is my action plan. Everything needs to go. I was thinking on the level of action, but when you just think on the level of just a goal and the target, you start to think of endless possibilities, and then your brain just picks the best one. I don't know what it is, but it's just your natural ability. You guys need to believe in yourself more. You need to believe in yourself that you can actually do way more than you can actually think, even fathom. Even fathom, bro. Just think about the goal more. Think less about the action, and I promise you, you will get to further places than your mind would even believe. It's weird, it's arbitrary, but that realization made me the most money, made me work way less, and actually made me a lot more happier, because now when I think about my goals, I just sit and think, and I'm like, okay, cool, what's the best path to get here? That's just how I think. So yeah, I don't know. It might take you a while, but if you don't get it now, I promise you're going to get it a little bit later. And trust me, it's a big realization. So yeah, that's honestly pretty much the lessons I've learned. I've kept this kind of raw. I used my phone, took my notes, and I'm curious, what lessons did you guys learn in 2024 about your businesses? Like, did you guys hit your goals? Did you guys hit the things that you wanted to do? Did you guys even manage to scale your businesses as well? Share it in the comments. I'm very curious to learn. I'm actually very curious to see. But speaking of scaling businesses as well too, shameless plug, but if you're a coach, or if you're someone that's looking to actually implement systems that's going to allow you to actually have consistency and probably make the revenue numbers that I talked about a little bit earlier, because that's just my numbers myself. But for my clients, we've probably done over like 1.5 mil combined just this year alone, probably even more, because we had quite a few clients hit 6 figures in a month this month, and not this month, but just in the months of 2024, and 7 figures like in a whole year, which is insane. Never thought my ability can actually get people to that point, but it has been able to do that. So if you're looking for someone to do that, there's going to be a link down below to my Instagram. You can just send me a message over there. But yeah, apart from that, that's pretty much it. My voice is gone now. So I guess I'll see you guys in the next